Canta, no llores rang out at the Luzhniki as the final whistle blew. Sing, don't cry. A Mexican mantra from one of their most famous folk songs, and, after beating the reigning world champions Germany on the first game of their title defense, sing they will. The traveling hordes, estimated to be as many as 100,000, had crossed the Atlantic and descended on Moscow for a box office clash against European giants. These are the games where they so often falter, but not today, not here in a stadium they made their own against a team that they utterly derailed, short-circuiting the usually reliable man-shaft machine. Mexico are a footballing superpower in their own backyard, but so often when it comes to the greatest stage in world soccer they are bullied by the bigger kids. Could do little for the Mexico opener and was left exposed by a wandering defense put in a solid performance and a surprise inclusion into the starting 11. Again could have tried harder to get back for Mexico's counter despite all his talent. Kimmich struggled to get back after attacking, and left Ozil to defend, making him culpable for the Mexico goal. The stronger of the German defenders, but still caught on the counter-attack several times, struggled against the intelligence and pace of Hernandez, another to be caught on the counter, usually the defensive cover in midfield. He left his defense open to the Mexican counter-attack, hauled off early in the second half, provided little to bear. German attack, other than an excellent free kick pushed onto the bar by Ochoa, failed to impact the Germans' attacking play, and wasn't helped by the likes of Khedira, who underperforming sprayed some average passes to his teammates. May get the blame for Mexican's opener, but at least he tracked back, unlike others offered an attacking outlet down the left and looked a bright spark against the Mexican defense, but ultimately couldn't break through. Had a couple of half chances and showed some of his talent at just 22 years old. An excellent save to deny Toni Kroos from a free kick, and kept his nerve towards the end as Germany attacked solid at the back against the array of German talent, especially as the pressure piled on in the second half. Had remarkable energy to defend all the German attacks, and still managed to fly forward to the byline in the 87th minute. Loose in possession at times as Germany pressured to come back into the game, but gave everything until the end. A calm and composed figure with the vast energetic attacking talents in front of him impressed on the counter and linked well with Leon and Lozano. Guilty of missing a couple of chances from range, missed a host of chances, mostly from range, but was one of many to look dangerous on the counter, a constant threat to the German defense. His pace and intelligence can frustrate most defenses in the world. Always looks better for country than club. Picked up an early, needless yellow card for time wasting, but performed well and gave everything for his team. In 2014 they were eliminated by the last Netherlands team to be any good before their entire footballing system seemed to turn to soup. In 2010 and 2006 it was to Argentina, narrow wins but ones where they were simply outmatched by those accustomed to the big time. And so into 2018, a tournament they qualified for easily, but with a coach who still finds himself unpopular for a variety of reasons. Either Mexico aren't winning enough against minnows, the friendly defeats to better sides are unacceptable, or Juan Carlos Osorio, a delightful, thoughtful man from Colombia, simply isn't Mexican enough. Osorio is known as El Profesor for his analytical approach to coaching, but not necessarily in a complimentary way. For Mexican fans, the same who provided the cacophonous soundtrack to this roasting afternoon at the Luzhniki, he is too sterile and removed from the joyous extremes that make Mexico great. But perhaps he proved today that he is the voice of reason they need. In terms of reaching the knockout stage of the World Cup, Mexico are one of the most successful teams in the tournament's rich history, but their last 6 World Cups in a row have seen them eliminated in the round of 16. AFP/Getty Images. To avoid being one and done again when it matters in Russia, Osorio knew they needed to beat the Germans. Finishing second in Group F behind the reigning champions would mean a likely second-round encounter with Brazil and that familiar sinking feeling inflicted on them. Another global superpower trouncing a regional one as soon as the stakes were raised. Osorio is almost certain to leave his post after this tournament, a relationship run cold between fans, federation and coach, but despite the US-educated Colombian being derided for his attention to detail, it was to be Mexico's trump card here, ironically against the team that might be more renowned for it than any other. In the moment, during the heat of the battle, Mexico's attacking was frantic. Deep Viridian chaos reigned as the waspish trident of Carlos Vela, Javier Hernandez and Hirving Lozano dipped and dashed beyond Germany's stretched defensive line. But this was a chaos seeded by strategy. Osorio had pinpointed the gaps behind the marauding Joshua Kimmich as one of the chinks in Germany's otherwise fairly impregnable armor. He couldn't have known that Jogi Löw's midfield would be so utterly incapable of stopping his side's counter-attacking play. It's fair to say, with Sami Khedira no longer boasting the necessary dynamism to cover those Mexican surges, but he knew they'd line up with effectively 4 forwards. It was half a chance that came good. An educated guess that triumphed. Few back home will be complaining about the professorial approach now. We designed the plan approximately 6 months ago, he said post-match. And it worked. Of course, the frustration with valuing method and precision is that Mexico's attack actually functions with little of the above. They were a deep green firework of a unit, countering with verve and a speed that sometimes their brains couldn't catch up with. They might have scored 3 first-half goals with a little more thought and composure, and Osorio will have known that more than most. He certainly would have felt it more than most. When they did score through Lozano, seismologists in Mexico recorded an earthquake as fans celebrated. Osorio? I went back to my seat and looked at the plan. In the second half too they had endless chances on the break, including one memorable counter that began with 2 players almost hiding out on the right flank and then springing Germany in a 2-on-1. The final ball was just off, again. Osorio sunk to the turf, again. As Germany pressed forward, abandoning their calm and steady build-up of the first period in favor of a line of strikers and lots of pointing, Mexico were given more green grass to run into. While Liverpool decided to snub Werner transfer and put faith in Brewster still, though, they were wasteful. Infuriating. A huge, boisterous travelling contingent wailed with every missed chance, knowing that Germany always have the quality to hurt you and definitely the composure and know-how. In Guillermo Ochoa, Mexico had a last line of defense that had captured the imagination in Brazil 4 years ago and continued to keep the Teutonic invasion at bay. And then it was the final stretch. Do what is necessary. Mexico fouled and cleared and blocked their way to 90 minutes and beyond. Manuel Neuer came up for a late corner, Germany's own brief excursion into attacking chaos, but one that came too late, with too much damage done. El Tri had beaten the world champions, a result achieved through Osorio's method and Mexican madness. On the streets of Moscow tonight, though, only one of those will reign. Sing, they will. Cry, through sadness, at least, they won't. Follow the Independent Sport on Instagram here, for all of the best images, videos and stories from around the sporting world.